Welcome to Sasquatch and Sourdough, the podcast where we embark on a journey into the depths of the unknown.
The mystery of life.
Weaving together threads of ancient scripture.
What do you mean, biblical?
Tales of high strangeness.
Tell them about the Twinkie.
Whether you're a seeker of truth.
We believe it's the heart of the house.
Or simply hungry for a good story.
What about the Twinkie?
Sasquatch and Sourdough invites you to join us on a journey of discovery, wonder, and deliciousness.
They feel your methods, your theories are
Spooky.
So grab your backpack, sharpen your senses,
Do you think I'm spooky?
and prepare to explore the sacred mysteries of our highly strange world like never before.
And that is the whole problem with aliens.
Welcome back to Sasquatch and Sourdough. I am your host, Christina, and today I am joined by my new friend, Wendi. Wendi is the owner of Paranormal Pops, and she is here to tell her story and her experience. She has had several kind of weird encounters. So welcome, Wendi.
Thank you so much for having me. You're awesome. I really appreciate it.
We've just been talking for like an hour, and
I know.
we are just already everyone that comes on here, we're just all new best friends. So
Yeah, it's really amazing how God brings us all together. And I mean, you came out of nowhere, and I joked with you before about how I actually do make sourdough, so I thought that was hilarious. So it's kind of the two things together here.
I think I found you because you either had an ad on Instagram or you came up in my feed, and it was for Valentine's Day. So this will actually drop before Valentine's Day, and you have these incredible little creations of just amazing chocolate pops that you make. And I was what? Bigfoot lollipops? Yes, please. How can I do this? So why don't you share how that started?
I would really love to do that.
Yeah, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so my business is in honor of my dear friend who passed away from a rare brain tumor, actually within 3 months from start to finish, so it was very fast. And she was just a wonderful person, kind soul. She was a researcher and took it very seriously. And she would really be boots on the ground. She would go in caves. She would just go, wherever she had to go. And I did not know her until, probably 2019. I had this really strange image on my camera. It was just really weird. And so I didn't know anything about MUFON or, who to call or anything like that. So I was just Googling because I was just wondering what it was, and I couldn't find anything like it. And it brought her name up. At the time, she was with MUFON.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of them, just so you know, but at the time she was, I don't know why I'm going in and out, but she was, with them. She was their, kind of their state, I guess, contact or whatever. So anyway, I sent the image to her, and she was like, well, let me do some experiments and see if I can figure this out. She thought she might have known what it was, but it turned out that the one I had was like a 3D and it had movement. It was just really weird. So, so anyway, that brought us together. And then from there, we formed this incredible friendship. And she actually taught me a lot about the power of God, your mind. I mean, I know the power of God. I'm a Christian, but I've never been one to grow up around this kind of stuff. I'm just not,
Sure.
it's not in my background or anything. So she really taught me how to use your mind. You've got power in your mind through Jesus Christ to control what enters your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then she also taught me that, trauma has a lot to do with a lot of this stuff. People who have gone through severe traumas in their life, she had actually been through a lot of trauma, and as have I. And so
Mm-hmm.
it kind of puts you on a different frequency, as she would say, to where you can actually just, you can just hear and see things that other people can't. Um, and that is definitely true, but she's the one that taught me. So anyway, back to how this business started. After she passed away, there was a celebration of her life in Tennessee, and in close to Nashville. And I just had the forethought to bring these chocolates. Did I lose you? Or are you still there?
No, I'm still here. There's something
Okay.
weird going on with it's not recording the camera. I don't know why. Hang on. I'm trying to pull it back
Hey,
up.
weird things
So,
happen sometimes.
so
I'm
accurate.
just
No,
saying.
it
I don't know.
happened. It was happening while you can turn off the camera while recording, but you can't switch cameras. Okay. Well, I don't want to turn it off. I want to turn it back on. There we go. It gave me like a pop-up saying that it wasn't recording the video. So I don't know. It's been giving me a hard time since I got on. So all right.
It happens
Okay.
though. This kind of weird stuff
Yeah.
happens. But
I
so
know. It's
anyway,
annoying. Yeah, continue. Sorry about that.
that's okay. So I just thought, I want to take some stuff that really, I want to take some stuff there. And I've always loved to cook and do crafts and all that. So I made these little chocolate um, aliens, Bigfoots, and take them to this little Baptist church, and I had them in a basket. While I was making them, I was up till about 2 o'clock in the morning making this stuff. And I don't really care if anybody believes me or not, but I was literally having a conversation with her.
Oh,
It was like I'm talking to you, but it was in my mind, and I was just hearing her, and she was saying, "Those are so great." She's like, "We've had the single mom talk several times." She's like, "You need to sell these." And I'm like, "This is for your celebration of life. I'm not selling these, And she's like, "You're going to
yeah.
sell these, and you're going to call them Paranormal Pops. They're out of this world." And I
I
just
love
was
that.
like, I was just sitting there going, is this happening? Like, you really, it's happening, but is it happening? It's kind of just one of those wacky things that's actually wonderful. So I just kind of put that in the back of my mind, because I'm like, fighting with her, like, I'm not going to sell something, and it was like this little back and forth. So anyway, um, I kind of had my moment with her, how much I love you, and, all that stuff. And I want to cry. Um,
Oh, I love that.
I haven't told this story in a while, but anyway, so I go to the celebration of life. I really don't know many people, but a couple of people. And walking to the parking lot, and I had brought, macaroni and cheese and all this other stuff too, because they have the little after get together,
Yeah.
So I'm kind of loaded up, and I run into this incredible couple in the parking lot, not by chance, of course. Kevin Kell and Terry Ling.
Mm-hmm.
And they helped me carry the stuff into the little room that you're going in afterwards. And they saw those, and Terry said, "You've got to hide these. Like, these things are too nice." I said, "I can hide them." We were laughing, and she's like, "No, they're great." And so I said, "I just want to pass them out to everybody." So anyway, after it was over, um, everybody was just really, wow, these are really neat. And even the pastor, this little old man, he was just wonderful. He's like, everybody go into the room afterwards and have some eats, and you're going to see this big cake with a big alien on top, or UFO. Or he was just wonderful. This Baptist preacher, so he really knew her and loved her
Right.
for who she was. And anyway, so that's kind of how that
Yeah.
started. And then Precious, Terry, and Kevin, he helped Kevin Kell Media. He's in Paris, Tennessee. Fantastic people. He helped me design the logo, which is very cool. It's very nostalgic, like a 50s almost logo that you'd see on candy or something.
It
and he
is.
helped
It's
me.
so cool.
It really is cool. So that's kudos to him, and I give all credit to him for that. So he really helped me with that, and then just along the way, Terry would share stuff, and Katie Cook, who was Angelia's best friend and became now one of my very best friends. She helped me. She was on some podcast and shared it every time. She would hold one up and talk about it, and just really was supportive. Angelia has a daughter named Shanna Simpson who's doing her own thing now called um, Paranormal Friends of Fairview, and it's in Tennessee. So she's on her own, doing her thing too, which is great. But but I just made it clear from the very beginning that this is all to honor Angelia. So I get to do that. Every time I have an online order, they get a set of Angelia wings instead of angel wings,
Ugh, I
and they
love that.
get
I
her
saw that on the
photo, and
website. I
it's
love
just
that.
really special. And then when I do conferences, I've got this huge display. I have an alien I sewed. He's about 7 feet tall, named Paranorman. And he'll sit in a chair with her book that she wrote. And I'm going to hold that up. I know it's going to be reversed, but it's UFO encounters, and it's how high strange events transform human perception. And it's
Oh
a
my gosh.
fantastic book. You can get that on Amazon, but she wrote that, and you can kind of get a feel of her research in there. It's wonderful.
I'll
But
make
I
sure that I
put up
link all this in the show notes.
Thank you for
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
But
Sure.
I put up a display, and I have the wings. They're all donations, and we've been able to donate in her name um, since her passing, and doing this to Children's Hospital, um,
Oh,
an autistic organization in Utica, New York, another children's home here in Tennessee. We did last year. It was just always cry at the conference. We always for free hand out the military logos and chocolate to any that we see. That's just what we do.
I
And
love that.
so we did donations for that. If anybody wants to, they can. If not, whatever. We have the wings. And so this year we donated some money to Guns to Hammers, which is a veterans organization in Texas who helps disabled and wounded veterans by going in and redoing their houses. But all this is in her name. So everybody gets to hear the story. And then every year there's always people who knew her. We just
Mhm.
hug, we cry, we talk about her. So it's really all about her for me. Um, because she was just an incredible person, and her work was so important. And, I didn't even get to know her long enough to, you know, just the time I knew her there was so much about her that was just like, I mean, she's in heaven. We all know that right now, but
Hmm.
she is just having the time of her life. I mean, she is just,
I love that you're honoring her. I mean, what a legacy,
yeah.
and that you're kind of continuing it. So, do you want to take a little bit of a step back, and maybe share how you got to meet her? Like, what was the encounter that started this?
Well, it was just that strange image on my I have just cameras because I have chickens. So I had
Mhm.
cameras placed, for predators. And
Mhm.
just this image was just there. And I just didn't understand it. It kind of
Yeah.
freaked me out a little bit, and I just didn't understand it. So I actually um Googled it with the Google Lens thing, and there's nothing. So I'm like, well, what is this thing? I mean, they always say once you see, you can't unsee something, and it's very true. So you
Yeah.
try to put it in the back of your head, but you're like, what is that? So anyway, it led me to her just through internet. I had never heard of her or any, thing. So um, at that, excuse me, I have allergies. At that
Yeah, you're
time,
fine.
she was with MUFON, which I had never heard
Mhm.
of. So I guess she was the state whatever they want to call it for Tennessee. So that led me to her. And we talked on the phone. I sent her the image, and she did some experiments and thought she knew what it was and then wasn't sure. Um, so it was kind of what she was working on when I got the call that she had a brain tumor.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah. So but at the end of her life, when I talked to her, she said, "You know, Wendi, I now know that that image was purposeful and it was there to bring us together. It's very clear to me.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
it was just whatever it is, it was just there to bring me to her and her to me. So, and then from there, it's just been this, I mean, wonderful group of people who, I've just been so blessed to know and that I have around me now. So it's just been amazing. But um
I find that fascinating that this is an image, and you can describe it if you want. If you would rather not, that's totally up to you. But it just amazes me that this is something that you had a hard time wrapping your head around. You did a Google image search. It did not pick anything up. And then it just went to, you know, I mean, I think in terms of like, how do the algorithms know? You know what I mean? So was it
right,
just like, oh, well, you're in Tennessee. I don't know what to do with this. I'm going to send you to MUFON or whatever, And
right.
the fact that she wasn't able to really even come up with anything is
Well,
very interesting.
yeah, I mean it is interesting, but I got to understand as a researcher, you have to make sure that you do process of elimination. So you want to see,
Mhm.
and I was a greenhorn. I mean, I knew nothing about anything at that point. So I was totally relying on her to tell me what this was. It wasn't even about me like wanting to learn about stuff or whatever. I just was like, what is this thing? And it almost looked like a deer hide, but
Interesting.
it had um things on the four corners of it, but it was like a 3D image and there was movement to it. So she thought it could possibly be like maybe a water. I mean, it wasn't raining, we went through
Hmm.
all that, but she thought that is maybe what it could be. Um, but she just could never be sure what it was. And so after she was actually planning on coming here, um, which is sad to me, but um,
Hmm.
like I said, at the end, we both realized whatever that was, it was just there so that I would find her and then become this incredible sister friend to me, like
Brilliant.
this person God sent to help me navigate through a lot of other things that that I've seen that I really keep to myself.
Sure.
But she was just instrumental and really the lesson I like I said before I learned was just how your mind how you have the power. We have so much more power within us than we realize and that we don't use, but we just have to keep the focus on God because if we don't, that's when the evil will swoop up and trick us.
Hmm.
Devil can be beautiful. Satan can be gorgeous. He can be beautiful. He's not this horny, that I said that.
No, you
That
like
was
the red
bad.
guy with
Bad
no,
choice of words.
just the
No, he
like
he
horned demon
horned.
thing.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Yes, thank you so much. But yeah, he's a deceptor and he will,
Hmm.
that's his goal to ruin anything beautiful that God has made. And, that's kind of like my take on Bigfoot and stuff. I believe, it's just my opinion. I'm not saying I know anything because we really don't at all, but I think that there's good ones that are flesh and blood. And I think there's the interdimensional ones that are getting all this attention and in a way are putting a target on the back of the good ones because they're probably closer to their size and maybe could be formidable in a
Mm,
fight, a spiritual battle or something. And so I think they just want them wiped out. And that's their way of putting a target on their back. Because I think they're quiet. I think they're just, um, there's probably some bad ones like there is humans, but I think for the most part, they're guardians of the earth and they're just good. And they're hiding from us because they've seen us desecrate the Indians and slaughter them. And they've seen all this. And, their stories are passed down. So I think
mm,
that they're just taking over. I mean, any show you watch on TV is Bigfoot, Bigfoot, Bigfoot. And God isn't mentioned in any of that I've seen. As far as the mainstream television shows, I know there's lots of other podcasts that are wonderful that talk about
Mhm.
the Lord and spiritual things. But if you don't talk about spirituality and God, I don't think that you're going to be able, to me, have a real, genuine conversation because, you know, I mean, you
It
got
leaves something out, I think, in the in the understanding. We can
right.
gather up all the evidence that we want, and there's still, and it's kind of like, what we were talking about off camera. It's the idea of like, there's some things we're just not meant to know. We're
Exactly.
not supposed to understand everything. I think that we do get these glimpses, and I think this story is fascinating and really kind of proves that we get these glimpses for a reason. Whatever the reason was that you
Whatever.
saw
Right.
this thing. I mean, in the back of your mind, I'm sure, hey, I've got to protect my property. I've got chickens I want to protect. Is this something that's going to come after them? So practicality, I get it. You want to know what it is. But then just to not have an idea of what that thing was, maybe it doesn't even matter what it was.
Yeah. I'm kind of at that point now with it. I mean, obviously, I'll forever cherish it just because of, it brought me to her. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't, it's more about her. I don't put a lot of thought into that thing because I don't know. And
Yeah.
I feel like, there's also something we didn't talk about that's important. That Angelia also taught me, and that's very true in my opinion, is the obsession that can come from all of this. You can become obsessed.
Mm.
And when you become obsessed, you don't sleep. You're constantly, looking, and there's no balance of just living life. Because you're so obsessed, and that's not good. Um, you know, um, there's no good in that. Um, my
Becomes like an
father,
identity.
yeah, it becomes yeah, it becomes your it to me, it just kind of engulfs you, and it's all you're about, and then it wins. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's good. I think that's bad, and then you're this little prisoner of this stuff. And that's not really the way that you want to go about trying to figure it out. I think you have to use your mind and say, and use your power in God and say, if you're not good, I want you out of here, you know, um, because you can literally invite things even unknowingly sometimes. So you got to really, really understand that this stuff's real and that it is good, it is evil, and just be very careful and know your discernment through the Lord and let Him give you that discernment to know
Mm.
what is good and what is bad, you know?
Yeah. You were
So,
going to say something about your dad. Did you want to speak to something?
well, my dad passed away, and when he passed away, I was very close to him. And when he passed away, um, about 2 in the morning, there was this incredibly huge, bright white orb.
Mm.
Um, and it tripped my camera. So, I had this urgency to look at my camera, and when I did, that's what I saw. And I mean, it even had the four corners coming out. And
Wow.
I knew that it was special, and I felt just this whole just peace, like, I know God's real, I know heaven's real, I knew that's where he went, but to have that confirmation, um, was unbelievable. And then we had a 14-year-old lab that we loved that died 2 days before my father, and that was crushing as well.
Uh,
And he had a trail right next to this little metal shed he would go up and down, and that orb moved over to the trail. And then, as if somebody
oh.
poured liquid downstairs, it was doing this movement down the trail. And I say it because I really don't know how to describe it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Met with the orb, went around this little metal shed that my children had built. My dad knew that, and he was very close to them. And then it disappeared. But the reason I'm saying that is because that is where my obsession started. Because now
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that my dad. I want to see. So that's where
Oh,
some things
yeah.
happened where the evil stepped in, and Angelia helped me stop that pretty quick. Um, and understand that's, why that could happen and the power of the mind. The Bible says to seal your mind too. And I believe that's a lot to do with that. We have to really seal it from all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff that can be absorbed in your mind. So,
Well, we take in so much information too. I
right.
mean, we're just constantly processing, and we're processing information now at a speed that we were not created to do so. So it's just, sometimes you can just feel really overwhelmed. But I just think that's really interesting because you kind of started with this. So it seems like that experience happened with with the orb after your dad and the dog passed, and then the other experience happened. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
So that's pretty wild because, if you, and I'm sure you've thought about that, but then, so that instance happened and you kind of got a little obsessive about it because you want to see your dad again. Like if that's where you went with it, like you believed that it's your dad, you want to see that again. And sometimes even just that seed can be distorted and manipulated. That's kind of
Absolutely.
what, the darkness kind of took a hold
Mhm.
of. And then and so to me, that's just God being awesome because he used that other light that you saw that you couldn't explain, that you caught on camera, and was just like, okay, well, what about this thing? And then, so sometimes I always go back to like, God just allows things to happen. People ask that all the time in this space. Like, why did I see that ghost? Why did I see this? Why did this happen? Why did I see that Bigfoot or whatever? I think sometimes it's just God allowing that to happen because he's going to use that.
Mhm.
And he did. He used that for your glory, for his glory, obviously, and for your healing because you ran into just the right person to kind of,
Oh,
help you in that.
absolutely. I mean, absolutely. She was just wonderful. I mean, she impacted my life more than any friend I've ever had. I mean, she just came in. Every friend has their wonderful things they bring to the table, but she just came in and I mean, it was just something that I will never forget, and I'll be forever grateful to her. And that's why I want to continue her, legacy and honoring her. It's very important to me.
So tell me some of so when you're at these are you doing like a lot of Bigfoot, would you say like paranormal conferences? Like, do you have
Um,
like a big schedule or?
no, I mean, I wish I did. I'm not really able to do the whole traveling thing,
Oh, yeah.
really just because financially you're kind of rolling the dice when you go to one, and I don't really have the money, to be honest, to roll the dice and wonder, am I going to make money? Am I not going to make money? So that's kind of what's
Yeah.
holding me back on that. And I just kind of let it, because it's about honoring her, I just kind of let it grow itself, really. Um, so I do try to do the Gatlinburg Bigfoot Conference every year. I've done some festivals. I'm in, some restaurants and stores here locally, wholesale.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah. And I also want to give a shout out to Expedition Bigfoot in Georgia, in Cherry Lodge, Georgia. They're dear friends of mine. They have
Okay.
carried my stuff, and she was actually the first person to carry my stuff. So I just always want to give a shout out to them. And they're just wonderful humans. Their place is awesome, the museum there, but they're
And
just
they're in
great people.
Georgia.
They're in Cherry Lodge, Georgia. Yeah, I actually have the flyer here in front of me. Um, yeah,
Well,
they're
I'm gonna link everybody, but it's so funny because being, kind of, I mean, we're from Maryland, so like I've never experienced Bigfoot. And I was on a show the other day and they asked me, we were talking about like the Patterson Gimlin film, and I was
oh
just like,
yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that. Like,
I think it's real. I mean, you got to look at the technology back then. It just wasn't.
right, right.
Yeah,
I mean, I kind of don't have any skin in the game. Like, I don't know. I just kind of like, I don't know. It kind of looks fake to me. But I also I live in Maryland, so it's not like, I'm in an urban area. So
right.
I appreciate hearing all of these encounters because I just don't think Bigfoot would be roaming around here. There's just too many people. So I never want to like discredit, but it was just really funny because I was like, yeah, I'm going to make no friends by saying that. But
That's just not true.
I got to be honest. Like, to
Yeah, no, you
me,
do. You
you
really do
know,
have to be honest, and
it
that.
looks a little sus, but everything in the 70s to me looks sus. So
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Um, um, and you never know what somebody was smoking either. I would encourage you or anyone if you really want to see. I mean, their heart's in it. David Bacara, his
Oh
heart
yeah.
in this museum and in everything he does here. So it's expeditionbigfoot.com. You can get all
Okay.
the information there. But they're just great people. They're just really I just love them to death.
That's awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I've got a
So
lot of traveling that I got to start doing here. I got to figure this out because I want to
you
come up and
do.
I want to see you. I would definitely. There's so much going on in Gatlinburg. Like,
Yeah.
are you like connected in that community at all? Like the Bigfoot. I know there's a lot of stuff. I always hear so
I'm
much about it.
becoming. I will tell you who I really would love to connect you with as well. Is Jessica Mora with Broken Branch Designs.
Okay.
Awesome stuff. I mean, her brother designs all the t-shirts. Of course, Broken Branch, Bigfoot breaks a branch.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
like
kind
that.
of a really cool name, but they've got great stuff. But yeah, I mean, they're just good Christian people. I've met Tony Merkel a couple of
Oh, cool.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really very kind. I've met RPG. Um, I leave bags of chocolate. We get there so early, so any speaker, I leave a bag on their table before they come in, just
Oh,
because I
that's
want
so
to.
cool. Yeah.
And he came over and thanked me
Oh,
and
nice.
took a picture, holding the chocolate. Maria Mayer was wonderful. She
Mhm.
was very sweet. Amy Bew,
Mhm.
love her to death. And like I said, Katie Cook, she's just been such a great friend to me, and she um, always promoted everything on her podcast. She's just been a great support system for me. But there's just been a lot of people. But every year, you meet. Um,
When is the
just
festival?
it is in July.
Oh,
Hopefully, you can
really?
make it. Yeah,
Oh, see,
it's
it's
in.
tough because I mean, I obviously I'm a mom, like we have a really, busy
Oh, I
family.
understand.
It's always
Yeah,
I'm just in that season,
yeah.
but
Summer's hard when you're out of
I
school
don't
and
know.
everything.
But if I can get away for a I keep, I mean, I really want to make it to the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival, but
Yeah,
I'm also the worst with traveling because I'm like, that's 4 hours away. So I need to just get over it and just do it.
yeah. I would love to be able to, go just to the southern ones in the beginning. Like I would love to do the Florida conference and the West, but my thing is if it's a festival
Mm,
and it's outside and it's hot, I can't do it because my
yeah.
chocolate will, there's really no way to keep it
Right. Because it's
cool.
chocolate. Yeah. Oh,
It's
that's
chocolate,
true. Yeah.
but I do really want to do, you know, more. It's just like I said, you just have to, kind of have to get a feel from people. How successful did you do? Or, you have to
Uh-huh.
when you're a baby kind of business trying to grow because it takes a while, you know.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but the Mothman Museum, he carried some of my Mothman. I've greatly improved them since he got them. So, but he does a festival which I've wanted to go to, but as far
Hmm.
as doing the chocolates there, it's outside.
I know. Yeah.
So, but it'd
It's
be
so
fun to
tough.
go. Yeah, so it's tough, but and the Chamber of Commerce, oh gosh, Area 51. Why is my mind blank? Where's that at?
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. New Mexico.
Yes, thank you,
Right?
Roswell.
Yeah. I don't know.
Roswell. My mind went
I,
blank.
I had to think too.
But they Chamber of Commerce early on when I started, I sent them, I think it was like I don't know how many aliens,
That's,
tons of chocolate
yes.
aliens. So, you know, um
That's awesome.
yeah, so we do everything. We have dogmen, we have, chupacabras and just all
It's
kinds of
really
stuff.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our
Love
website
that.
has kind of our most popular stuff on there. Not
Uh-huh.
everything. So if there is something that someone goes on the website and wants, they can always message me privately and I'll make sure that we make it and ship it to them. If it's not on the website.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
yeah.
Maybe I can just like I'll sound design like an ad and I'll just put your ad in the middle of my episodes. It'll just be
Wow,
like,
that's very kind of you. I would love that. And I told you I messaged you and told you I was
yeah,
gonna send you some chocolate. So I will
yes,
definitely,
send me all the
yeah,
chocolate. I told my husband this morning, I was like, she's gonna send me some chocolate.
of course I will.
I will
Yeah,
just
love
eat all
to.
the chocolate.
Yeah, I will hook you up for sure.
Yes,
Always appreciate anybody who, I mean, this has been so great meeting you, you know?
I know. It's just amazing how that I'm always just enamored with the way this community is like going. It's just so cool. It
Yeah, it's
really is just
special. It's
so
special.
cool. It
Hmm.
really, really is. It and I think, I mean, I grew up with the X-Files. Like that was like my favorite show ever. I'm like rewatching it with my son, and so it's just so neat that we're actually here where we're talking about this stuff. They're talking about it in Congress. They're talking about it on mainstream
Oh yeah.
media.
The
We're
now the
having these
drones.
conversations. Right. Where did the drones go, by the way? I'd like to know because we seem to stop talking
I
about those.
know.
Are they still
Bam.
happening? Like,
I think it's our people. I do. That's my take. I don't know.
I do kind of too.
Yeah,
I
there's
know.
just
I don't know.
something going on. So, who knows? I guess.
I think
But
if
it
it
was
was like an intergalactic war that was starting, I feel like we would have taken action rather
right.
than just
Right.
being like, yeah.
Yeah. Totally weird though. You can imagine with your kids in the backyard and this big huge SUV sized drone comes flying over. I mean, you know,
But that again, look at that. Look at what I found myself. Like my mom lives in Delaware, so she was sending me pictures of stuff that her friends were seeing in Jersey. Like right over the ferry ride. So it's like I found myself looking up at the sky. I was like
I know.
looking up at the sky, and then I was like, "What are you doing? Like
Right. There was
this is
this
not."
paranoia created. You're
Yeah.
right. There was in Knoxville at the Target. They had them the same. I mean,
Oh
it's just very
wow.
bizarre, you know. But yeah, you can't give power. I mean, it's a human nature to have these feelings, of course, but you can't give power. That fear just gets in there, and then it's like, I mean, we all had it, but
Yeah.
I think ever since COVID, it's just been this doldrum kind of heaviness in
Yeah.
the air kind of thing. So we just have to, So how come? Tell me about the sourdough part of your.
Oh my gosh,
Me-
everybody asked me that. I just told
Yeah,
them.
I need to
So,
know.
um, so I always joke, and I always say, like, when I'm on other podcasts, like my litmus test is I can tell if you've listened to the content, which I know you have, but I don't go into it like from start to finish. Um, I know if you've like listened to the content if you like ask me like, how's your sourdough starter? Because I'm terrible at sourdough, and that's like my joke. But the way that it started was I kind of just got this nudge to do something sort of creative, and I was producing the podcast at church, and I started getting into a position where I was on Instagram, like, like I did with you, just chatting with other people on Instagram and commenting on people's things and, just kind of sharing my story that way in the comments. And then people would ask me to come on their show. So I went on the Bump podcast with Bo Kennedy. That was like the first time I ever had to sit and tell my story.
Uh,
So being able to sit and like write it out, like start to finish and just kind of go into it and sharing my testimony. And I kind of was like, after I did that, I was like, I really enjoy kind of not sharing my story, but I kind of want to hear other people's stories. So how can I engage? How can I create content? Like, what does that look like? Um, and so Bo was awesome, and he just said, just give it to the Lord and see what He'll do with it. Like He's put this idea, on your heart. Just kind of take it and see what happens. And so I did that. I took his advice, and then I just it just went from there. So then I thought like, well, maybe I'll do like, and I had started doing sourdough because I fell in love with the scripture. It's like First Thessalonians 4:11. It's aspire to live a quiet life, mind your own business, and work with your hands. And I was like, that sounds like that should be my mantra. Like, because I was trying to,
I love that.
I got into like more of like the simple, and I really enjoyed, um, just like making I got into sourdough because that was like I got the like vision of like, him just molding us with his hands. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, I want to work with my hands, and I already garden and do that sort of stuff. But I wanted to like really get in there, So
Need some dough.
sourdough. Yeah, I wanted to knead some dough.
Need
And I
some dough.
love sourdough. So I started that way. And I also heard a podcast. There's a podcast. I was just talking about this with somebody else, but like it's called Sheologians. And the one like host on there, she's always like, oh, it's so easy. Anybody can do it. You just like throw it all together and leave it alone. And so I tried and I kept going with it. And I kind of was like, well, should I, maybe I'll just be one of those ladies that like talks about her sourdough and gives you a scripture. And like, it just didn't fall. That's just not who I am.
Maybe just never show the loaf.
Well, that's what I thought it was going to be, right? Like I thought, so then as I'm like making this sourdough, I'm just like, this is a failure. And
it's
like,
hard.
I
It's
cannot.
not easy. Yeah, it's not easy. I don't care what anybody says.
No.
I mean, it's its own mind-blowing thing. Like there's so many things, so
Well, and
yeah.
I mean, I always wanted to be like, I did a lot of like writing and all that. So I'm kind of more on that end of creativity and not on like the cooking end of things. I just use the like folk method and like throw everything. Like I would have been the perfect, like we talked about like off air, the perfect like hermit who lives in a hut that just has a cauldron that just like throws in a rabbit and like everything from her garden and then lets it simmer. Like there it is. Like
That's kind of how I cook when I cook. I really, seriously, I'm very high in Scottish heritage, and I have no
Oh,
patience.
nice.
So painting, anything I do is a mess, and I just don't have time to like tape everything off, or I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and spend 15, 16 hours making a loaf of bread. I'm not doing that. So I do the same thing. I'm just whatever, and it comes
just
out
like
fine.
Throw it all in a pot. My husband actually has to write. His joke is like we have like a big chalkboard in our kitchen, and there's times where like he's like, are you cooking? Because I'll start cooking and then I'll walk away and do like 10 other things. So he like wrote on the chalkboard like, am I cooking? And I was like, this is like got to be a sign of dementia or something. Like this is deeper than just me being a scatterbrain. Like oh, are you frozen? Oh, now I can't hear you. Oh, no, I can hear you. No, there we are.
My phone rang. Sorry, my phone rang. So I had
that's
to,
right. You're
I
the
just had to clear it. Yeah,
no,
my
that's great.
laptop. I don't know what happened, but it wouldn't let me open the thing.
It's weird.
Strange. I've done FaceTime where I can do that, but it wouldn't let me. So I don't know what happened. But anyway, it's working. That's all that matters, right?
Exactly. All right. Do you have any tips? So I stopped doing the starter like in general. So like I was doing really good with starters. And so basically like I just for the podcast, Stephen King always said like just write what you know. Like do what you know. So it kind of like felt like that. Like just do what you know. Like weirdos, you love all this parent, you just set a table for these people to come on and tell the stories, So that kind of the Instagram became that. And I kind of just gave it back to God, and he would give me just like, you had said, you get these drops in your spirit of like creativity. So the thing for me was like, weirdly encouraging content. I made something and I don't know what kind of post it was. Like, I can't remember anymore, but I looked at it and I was like, wow, that's weirdly encouraging. And then I was like, well, there you go. Weirdly encouraging content. So that's like what the Instagram is. And then the podcast just kind of took off. It's me and my best friend, but now her schedule's different and we can still she comes on like maybe once a month, but it's cool because I'm like booked up until like March. Like I've got
fantastic.
It's just
what
amazing.
A blessing, right? Now you get
it is. And it's cool because all I'm doing is just like, hey, cool. You look cool. You want to come on? You want to come hang out? Like
really.
it's just,
but the connection, I'm sure I'm not the only person, obviously, that you connect with people and people are kind of brought to you. And that's because of what you're doing. I mean, you have such a, welcoming spirit and you're so kind and you're easy. I mean, I'm not the most, I have a lot of anxiety. I don't have anything here talking to you. I'm just talking. I'm being myself. I'm not. And that's because you're making it that way. So
I
thanks.
appreciate that. I
Yeah.
learned from the best. Like, yeah, I think Bo Kennedy does it really well. He just kind of, lets you, kind of talk about it. And also Wes Germer, I've never really connected with him, but from Sasquatch Chronicles, just such a great model of just let people sit and tell the story, and just kind of let them feel, like you're having a phone conversation.
Yeah.
Because it's a vulnerable thing. It's really vulnerable. And I think that's why I had to tell my story first was I can't expect people to come on here and talk to me if I'm not willing to be vulnerable alongside them. So, you
Yeah.
know, you're already not telling your family, your pastor,
Right.
whoever. And it becomes like a dirty secret for people, I think. And especially
It really does.
older
Yeah.
generations. I mean, my goodness, it just the stuff that they had to carry in general. I think that was just kind of, you know, that's a lot of older people just kind of don't
Yeah.
really share.
They don't really communicate. They're not communicative in that generation. And
Yeah.
that's true. But even like I told you, it's like, if you look at anything, any feed, no matter what social
Mhm.
media platform, there's immediate desecration
Yep.
of anybody. And so it causes this, I mean, I understand people have to do process of, if you're bringing in someone and that's what they want to do, but that's why I just think, you know, when you get to a point where this is just what you see, what is what you see,
Hmm.
there's nothing to prove,
No, you can't. I mean,
there's
you know,
nothing to prove. I don't have anything to prove. And a lot of people don't, they just don't, it's nice to be able to have people that are like you, that believe in God, that you can just kind of have, like you said, that small community with. But
Mhm.
as far as going out and, what's the point? I don't need to do that. I don't need to be ripped apart or whatever. Sharing helps other people in that respect. But I mean, as far as me, I don't need to start my own thing. You know what I
Right.
mean? Make a big,
No,
I don't have any desire to do that.
no, you don't want to have a big spotlight on,
No.
especially, and I've met a lot of people here that, they're still going, they have a lot of stuff going on. I have a
Right.
couple ladies I'm talking to now that they have a lot of crazy stuff happening on their property. And it's like, yeah, it helps to like listen to podcasts about it, but what do I do? How do I get rid of it? Like, do I call the
Well, that's where
Ghostbusters?
that's where what you're doing is so
Yeah.
important. Like you said, that's where that is so important. And that's what Angelia, I mean, she just
Hmm.
protected her witnesses. I mean, she was so protective, but that's what she wanted people to have, a place to come to share and get help, and true help, like protected help, where that wouldn't be,
What was the
um,
process like? Because I'm not super familiar. MUFON works much differently. So I'm actually
uh,
when I pull research for UFO stuff, I usually go to the National UFO Reporting Center. That's where I get like all of my UFO kind of, if I'm looking at an area and I want to know where stuff is. But what was the
yeah.
experience with MUFON for you?
It really switched over to just a Angelia and I thing. There
Okay.
was no report given. I didn't want that once we
Hmm.
started talking. And actually, I'm not a, I don't want to get any kind of, judgment, but I'm just not a big fan
Okay.
of,
Yeah,
MUFON. I
that's
think
fair.
that, they don't really want,
I've heard that from several people.
yeah,
I think that what they're doing is different, and I think that people go there because it's what comes up when you search, so that you think it's a
right.
good resource, but I don't think that it's really going to be something that you're going to necessarily. Now, it seems like what she was doing was out of the norm,
Well,
but this,
she left
yeah.
there and was doing her own thing. And, I just feel like they wanna get all of you, tell me your story, tell me your thing, but they don't want to hear anything about Bigfoot, but they wanna hear it, but they're not gonna acknowledge it. So it's almost
Mm,
like a pick and choose thing, but yet they have all the information. So I wonder if they're not a government organization
yeah, they're just
that's
trying to
just getting
extract.
everybody to feed them all of their stories. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
It's
no,
just my opinion.
I've heard that from several other
Yeah, it's
people.
my opinion. So I, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too because So when we launched the encounter map, like, so I'm looking at all these different like resources. Like, so I told you like the National UFO Reporting Center, and they're good. They've got, you could file a report and stuff. I always go back to them, the Bigfoot
Oh,
reporting.
I
They're
love
great.
them. Charlie and
Yeah.
yeah,
I
they're
don't
friends
know
of
them at
mine.
all. I've never
Oh,
really
they're
met them.
wonderful. They
Yeah.
are wonderful. Yes.
But I love their work. And so, and then like, there's also like North American Dogman, like that website. So I pull from that stuff all the time. So when we created the encounter map, I thought this is going to be great. Like people will come and like share their encounters. And no, nobody wants to share their encounters. They want to tell their stories, but they don't want it to be like on the record, because it's like, I get it. You don't trust people with the story
Right. You just don't
because
know,
I'm
right?
not a piece of data. Like, this is my life. And
Right.
I appreciate that. I don't actually, now my husband's going to kill me because he's like, this is going to be great, like the website. And I'm like, I don't really care if anybody puts in their encounter. Like, it's just me doing the encounters anyway for my own research. I would actually rather do that. Like, if you've got a crazy thing going on in an area, I'll happily dig into it. And then maybe that can help you, you know, along the way, or send you resources. Because yeah, you're
And that's
right.
important.
You feel like a
Yeah.
piece of data, you know?
Right. It's
Yeah.
important for people to know they have these trusted people that they can talk to, you know, because there's really, I mean, I know, like you said, there's probably a lot more than I know. I don't know everybody or by any means. But we did lose, I just want to shout out to him. We did lose a very important person in this field. My hair's
Mhm.
done. Barry Gaunt, Gaunt.
Mhm.
Um, he was incredible. He had the Bear Night Stalker podcast.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
don't know if you've heard of
Yeah.
him, but he
Yeah.
passed away. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, like
I
last
never
week.
listened to, I just actually heard about that like last
He was
week.
great.
Yeah.
The kindest person. I mean, Angelia was good friends with him. Then I became friends with him, but he was just a wonderful person. So just to acknowledge the
Yeah.
loss. Um,
Yeah. I know
so
it's so challenging too. Because then you have, it's like a void in the space, you know,
right.
like in the
It
community.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, hers is just felt, I mean, still by so many. I mean, like I said, sometimes it's repeat people that come back and we're always like just run to each other and hug each other immediately. And then sometimes there's new people that see the display I have and they're just like, oh my gosh, did you know her? And I'm like, oh yeah, you know, and this is all dedicated to her. It's because of her that I do this. And we start crying and they tell a
Yeah.
story. And
Ugh.
that's what it's all about for me, you know, is just, like I said, keeping her, you know, Angelia Sheer, just keeping her memory alive. So,
I love
um,
that.
no
I
matter
love
how
that so
tiny it
much.
is right now, that's what
Yeah.
I want to do.
Well, we're
So
going to help you grow, because I'm going to tell everybody about this, because
thank
I
you. Thank
chocolate
you.
and I love weird things. And you have a unicorn
I
pop.
have a unicorn. I have a mermaid. Yeah, we do. You know, I do have a chupacabra and I have, like a Jersey devil and
And a dog man. I saw the dog
I
man.
have my
Yeah.
dog man. Yeah. I had to get that mold from like, I think it was Ukraine or something before all the war.
Yeah.
But this guy and the mold, it's incredible. I mean,
That's
it's
awesome.
really awesome. And you know, the Gatlinburg Bigfoot conference they started this last year, but they're featuring a new cryptid now,
What is it?
other than Bigfoot every year,
Oh, really?
which is kind of neat. They have like a round table where they discuss that cryptid. So last year it was, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me?
Was it dog man?
Thank you. It was
Dog man was,
Dogman.
dog man
Like
was
I
like
should know
super,
that, right? I was there. Yeah, it was Dogman.
super popular last year. Dog man like kind of got a lot of traction.
Yeah, it was Dogman last year, and then this year it's the Mothman. So it'll be,
Okay.
you know,
That's
kind
kind
of
of
neat,
cool.
throwing a different spin on it. And so we'll have a lot more Mothman chocolates this year than normal. And last year we had salted caramel Dogmen and milk chocolate Dogmen and all kinds of stuff. So
I love
um,
it. Oh, Wendy,
yeah,
thank you so much for coming on.
thank
I really
you.
appreciate it. Do
This
you
has
have
been
any
great.
advice? Do you have any advice for people maybe that are seeing something, or, you know, don't know what to do with it? What would you, I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute, but
No, it's okay.
can you think of anything that you would kind of want to impart to them?
Yeah, I would definitely say, you need to just really get on your knees. And first of all, the most important thing is just pray to God, because, this stuff is real. It's not a thing to be taken lightly. And if you're at that point where you're struggling with like, what am I seeing, and you're starting to feel like you're crazy and all that kind of stuff, he can help you. That's your number one thing to go to, is the Lord. And then, in the name of Jesus, rebuke anything that's not good, and just ask God to give you discernment to see what he wants you to see. And then also, in the flesh, be very careful. But if you can, call you. I mean, you're a great resource, Also, Shanna Simpson, who does Paranormal Friends of Fairview in Tennessee. She's Angelia's daughter, and so I know her. She's a very trusted person to go to. She will do just like her mother did and protect you, and that's a
Point you in
very
the right
safe,
direction. Yeah,
very safe person to go to. And I would also say that about Charlie and Lindsay Raymond. Charlie Raymond, I know that they're great people. So they are, there's a few people that I know personally that I know are, gonna protect you and not exploit you or make you feel stupid or crazy or any of those things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's really important in this time, really. So
yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Wendi. Thank you for your kind words. I don't like compliment sandwiches as much, but thank you.
Well, thank you for being so fantastic. And we're going to talk again soon. I
hope so. Yeah, I would love to have you on again. And then I would definitely, I know we'll be continually in touch. And then I've got to get, Crystal and I have got to go to this Gatlinburg thing. We just have to.
Yeah, I would love it if you go.
I know. That would be so much fun.
And I'll send you a link to that. But
Yes, Wendi has like a glamper site, which is amazingly even more on brand because we love camping.
Just a little cute little place in the woods I Airbnb. But but it's just been a pleasure to meet you. You're fantastic, and I definitely feel like I've made a new friend. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Wendi.
You're
welcome.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. You have been listening to Sasquatch and Sourdough. I'm Christina, and thank you so much for tuning in. Sasquatch and Sourdough is so much more than just a podcast. We're a community of kindred spirits, united by our curiosity and fascination with the extraordinary. And we want to bring you into the conversation. So whether you've had a brush with the unexplainable, seen something that you can't quite wrap your head around, this is your space. We invite you to join us as we break bread and break down the barriers between the known and the unknown. If you want to share your story, you can email us at sasquatchandsourdough@gmail.com or send us a DM on Instagram. Until next time, remember, the truth is out there, God is with you, and everyone always ends up in the kitchen.